Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a championship edition of Friday Night Football Fever here on WSBT-22. Pete Byrne along with Carl Deffenbaugh. And Carl, from here on out, every single Friday night to the rest of the way, there is hardware at stake.
This is the best time of year, right? And it's where we really see the depth of talent that we have across the area here. So many teams still in the hunt for trophies.
And plenty of great area teams on display tonight. We begin in Class 5A with an NIC rematch and a championship at stake between Adams and Mishawaka.
That's right. Adams beat Mishawaka earlier this season. For the first time in more than 2 decades, the Eagle students sporting lime green to support Mary Kate Varga, an Adams soccer player who is battling cancer. So stay strong, Mary Kate.
Absolutely.
To the game, the Cavemen on the board first. The pitch to Vernon Daniels just untouched for a 7-0 lead. And then after an Adams fumble, Peyton Marshall, the fullback, right up the gut, a 61-yard run all the way down to the 1. His buddies were making fun of him for not finishing that off afterwards. But Darian Phillips Wood punching it in from the 1. Mishawaka gets revenge and a sectional trophy to go with it, 27-6, the final. So who would they face in the regional? Concord would have to get past a 5A powerhouse. Fort Wayne Snyder has won sectional crowns in 14 of the last 15 years. And Concord was down 7 late in the first, 4th and 1. The Minutemen were trying a pooch punt, but the snap low. Instead, the Panthers get great field position. And that would lead to a 42-yard field goal right before the end of the clock. So it's a 2-score game going into the break. And it would get worse in the third quarter. From 3 yards out, the Panthers' Dominic Scott makes it a 20-point lead. Snyder wins 47-21, so they knock out the Minutemen, and a date with the Cavemen coming next week.
That is a good run by Concord this year. All right, so the NIC has a 5A sectional champ, and we know they're going to get a 4A sectional champ between St. Joe and Washington tonight.
And Washington, what a story. They're trying to win their first sectional in 4 years after a late season run.
Jay Johnson went to the sectional title game his first year as a coach, has him back here now in year 4. As they take the field tonight at Clayfield because there were some problems with the turf at Schoolfield. As for South Bend St. Joe, they've overcome a ton of adversity this year, lots of injuries, and they're really starting to play their best football at the right time. Here's some of that good football right now. Tony Carmola dumps it off to Courtney Roll on the screen pass. Roll has blockers, then splits the safeties and goes 50 yards for the score and puts St. Joe up 7-0. On their next possession, St. Joe gets a little tricky. We got a reverse. Roll again with the ball in his hands. He's got blockers, and no one's going to get to him as he goes into the end zone for his second touchdown of the night. St. Joe up 14-0. And the big plays continue in the second quarter. Carmola airing it out. Check out Brandon Chappell. Great catch as he gets taken down by the defender. Big gain, and that would lead to a short Carmola touchdown, which puts St. Joe up 21-0 at halftime. Remember, Washington, the NIC champs, and they were much better in the second half, but that 21-point deficit, too much to overcome. St. Joe wins the sectional 21-13, so they will go to Lowell next week for the regional.
Elsewhere in 4A, Northwood had won 5 in a row coming in, including a come-from-behind victory over Plymouth 3 weeks ago. This time, the Panthers grabbed the early lead. Trey Belinsky to Braxton Linville over the middle. They go up 14-0. But John Barron had an answer, and a trick at that. Pitched it to Cam Evelyn, who throws it back to Barron to make it 14-7. Gets the Rockies on the board. Now Barron would throw it then to Terrence Hooten, looking deep here as they were down at this point. Instead, it's a wide-open go-ahead touchdown. Made it a 1-point game. They actually went up 37-29. So the Panthers down 8, 7 seconds to go. They needed that and a 2-point try, but the pass is incomplete. Plymouth wins 37-29 with the year that they've had. And nice to see a celebration at the Rock Pile. The first sectional crown since 2001, the first ever for John Barron in his 12 years there.
Real happy for Coach Barron and the Rockies team. They've been through a lot this year. Hard-earned win, and they deserved it. We should mention they will host Bishop Dwenger out of Fort Wayne next week in the regional. All right, so we've got a 6A and a 5A and a 4A NIC sectional champion. How about Class 3A? Marion hosting Hammond tonight. Marion back on track right now.
They've gotten hot in the playoffs, actually averaging 45 points per game in their 2 sectional wins coming in.
So let's see how they do tonight over at Otulski Field. Pick it up late in the second quarter. Close game, but Marion going to finish the first half strong. Late in the quarter, up 7-3. Bryce Tomasi finds Ken DeRuki all alone in the corner of the end zone. Marion up 14-3. After a quick Hammond strike makes it 14-9. Marion answers with the big guy. Xander Horvath breaks a tackle, spins past another one here, and goes into the end zone standing up. Marion leads 21 to high school guys allowed to have arms that big. That's crazy. Hey, they're not done yet either. Final seconds of the half. Tomasi to Jake Whitfield. breaks a tackle and scores with 2 seconds to go in the half. Marion rolls from there 49-9. They are sectional champs.
Elsewhere in 3A, Culver Military, the Eagles taking on Garrett. Both teams looking for their first sectional crown in over a decade. CMA was up 16-7 in the second after a Garrett fumble. Mike Bacher throws back to Jacob Young, and he's going to do the rest. A couple arm tackles, not going to bring him down until finally at the 1-yard line. And Bacher would cap off the drive by himself. The QB keeper made it 23-7 at that point. Now Culver would have to hold on, but they do win their sectional 23-21. Marion waiting in the regional.
Way to go, CMA. Meanwhile, we're going to get to Class 2 in a minute. Class A, Northfield hosting LaVille. Second quarter, Lancers trailing 7-0, but back they come. Adam Stanky to Alex Stanky for the touchdown. He's in, ties the game at 7-all. This was a back-and-forth night, but Northfield just a little bit better in this game. Drake Richter to Jared Short here on the 23-yard touchdown hookup. Northfield edges LaVille 24-21. Now we check in with Class 2A, and it's Bremen out of the NIC, winning 48-21 over Cass. And Whiting takes down Knox 31-21. And a big game in Class 6A, not a sectional title game, but a regional title game. Penn goes out west and beats Maryville 56-38. Camden Bone goes over 1,000 passing and rushing yards on the year tonight. Darn good player.
Not in the game, but over the season.
That would be a record. He does it tonight on the year. So Penn comes back to win the regional, and they will host Carmel next week. Maybe the 2 best teams in the state in the semi-states.
And they've faced each other the past 2 years as well. The Kingsmen out for some revenge, I'm sure.
So we got NIC champs in 6A, 5A, 4A, 3A, and 2A, all sectional champs. I don't think there's another league in the state that can boast that. All right. We got to take a quick timeout, but coming up next, the Michigan Districts. Can undefeated Edwardsburg keep a perfect run alive against one-loss St. Joe? And does a dream season continue for Benton Harbor? All that and more when Friday Night Fever returns.
Friday Night Football Fever, presented by TCU.
Welcome back. We turn our attention to Michigan now and some unfinished business in Edwardsburg.
Yeah, the Eddies seniors already part of the best 4-year stretch in program history, but they're after a championship.
And they're taking on a very good St. Joe team tonight. The Bears 9-1 and hosting the district championship as we head up north. And man, all sorts of big plays in this game. Eddie's fired up. They've made it a long way the last couple years. Want to keep it going again this year. Early on, Griffin Baudette with a pass over the middle to Jordan Brewer. Brewer past the safety. He's into the end zone. Bears up 6-0 over undefeated Edwardsburg. But Eddies have such a great ground game. They give it to Damian Pompey, who breaks a tackle at the line, and no one's going to catch him. He goes off and ties the game at 6 with the long touchdown run. Hey, you know what? St. Joe's ground game, not too shabby either. They give this one to Darius Clayton. He gets through the line of scrimmage, and by my count, that's a 50-yard touchdown, folks, as St. Joe retakes the lead 13-6. But back and forth we go in St. Joe. Now it's Tyler Treat's turn. Breaks a tackle, breaks another, spins his way out of a third, and takes it to the house. The Eddies would go for 2 and take a 14-13 lead. But St. Joe rallies and wins the district title tonight, 40-28. Bears moving on.
In Division 5, Berrien Springs' lone loss this year came to undefeated Buchanan 3 weeks ago. So the Shamrocks trying to get some payback against the Bucks. That was a 2-point game in that game. This one, not. Bucks up 28-0, and Darren Shearer to Tim McCaffrey. McCaffrey's got the wheels. A 64-yard run there. Buchanan celebrates a district championship, a 35-0 win over Berrien Springs. Regionals next.
Love the hardware. Would some of that be coming to Benton Harbor? Maybe one of the best stories of the season in the playoffs, but tonight facing the #1 team in the state, undefeated Zeeland West. So what do the Bears have in store for them? Well, when you're playing the #1 team, they're ranked #1 for a reason. Zeeland West scores first on the short touchdown by Tyler Thompson, goes up 8-0. Then still in the first quarter, another touchdown makes it 16-0. It would become 32-0 before Benton Harbor finally gets on the scoreboard. Jeremy Burrell into the end zone there to make it 32-8, but just too much Zeeland West tonight. They win, and they win big, 62-8. So Benton Harbor season comes to an end, but they should be proud because it's been a great year up there.
What a turnaround.
Yeah, absolutely. Other results to pass along in District 7. Cassopolis beats Bridgman 48-14. And we should also mention that Constantine edges Watervliet tonight 49-48. We got to take a quick time out, but we'll be back to wrap up Fever after this. Welcome back to Friday Night Fever. Time for our play of the night. We go back to Clay Field for a sectional title game between St. Joe and Washington. The reverse to Courtney Roll, his second touchdown of the first quarter, helping South Bend St. Joe to a sectional title win over Washington tonight, St. Joe moving on, as are 4 other NIC.